sight that every eye should behold. So beautiful with more than silver and gold. She's like food for the soul. Now eye candy, cause in God she's glowed. Baby girl, a brand name, she rockin' wherever she sold. She rise up early morning, making moves all day. Always bow down, don't forget to pray. Cook that good food, know her family straight. She humble with grace, no sacrifices too great for her. She's so wise and strong, won't compromise. Know where her value lies. Open mind, closed eyes. Emanates, eminence, radiates, elegance. Unique proof, God exists, she is the evidence.
Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Proverbs 31 podcast. I am your host, Sister Student Minister, Dr. Eminence Muhammad, and I am thrilled to have you with us tonight. We have an incredible show lined up for you with a very special guest who has graced our platform before with his profound insights and uplifting spirit. This brother, who is Farrakhan Muhammad Ali, the founder of the Hereafter Farms, Brother Farrakhan is not only an entrepreneur and a student minister, but also an educator and a devoted father, a community development activist. His dedication to community upliftment and his ability to inspire others with his divine energy and beautiful spirit makes him a truly remarkable guest. Tonight's discussion will focus on a powerful and thought-provoking topic: separation, the cow, and the building of the hereafter. We're going to be talking about the significance of separation. We're going to explore the wisdom that is found in the chapter called The Cow, a Baqarah, from the Holy Quran. And we're going to discuss strategies for building a prosperous future. This episode promises to be an enlightening and empowering episode. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired as always. We encourage you to engage with us through the live stream chat if you're on Facebook and if you're on YouTube or Instagram. Without further ado, let us bring on our brother, Farrakhan Muhammad Ali.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. How are you tonight, Brother Farrakhan Muhammad?
Very well. Thank you for asking, sis. Very well. I'm very happy to be here. I had a great time last time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that my internet
Would
or
you
yours?
like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So my name is Farrakhan Muhammad Ali, and I am I'm a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan first, and I just really enjoy solving problems. And one of the biggest problems that we have is the environment that we live in is preventing us from reconnecting or being connected to our higher self, to our divine self. And so by creating a new environment, I and we and others can take all of this amazing things that we've been given and we've read and we've learned and all this training that we have, and we can apply it in an environment that will allow us to fully express it and bring it to life and even create new things from it. And so our environment is one of the big keys of our resurrection as human beings, to reconnect back to oneness with God, which is the work of my teacher. And I'm just doing my part to help see that happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I would say you're doing a really good job. And everyone that is a part of the social media world and in the real world, because you're making connections in the real world as well. And that's what I hope we get into today,
Yeah.
because we see movement and motion on social media,
Yeah.
but your movement is not limited to social media. It's just
Yes.
a platform that you're utilizing. Can you elaborate a little bit on that about the real work?
Yeah, definitely. So in 2013, I heard my teacher say that homes were cheap in Detroit. And I heard him talking about Detroit being like a very special place. I don't want to go too far off into what he said, but to sum it up, he said that, we can go to Detroit and we can buy homes very affordably, and we can make our community um, a decent and safe place for us to live. And he said that homes were cheap and land was cheap. And he said we should go there and we should buy homes and we should buy land. And so I did. I was like, okay,
Yes.
great. Like I love the mosque and I love my books and I love my class, but I also want to be able to apply it all, in some practical way. And so I felt like creating a new environment was key. And this was a chance to create a new environment. And of course, being a student of the minister, I'm thinking collectively. I'm like, okay, cool, I can go to Detroit. So I called everybody. And then I got to Detroit and I started meeting people. And then I tried to convince those people to buy houses and buy farmland and buy empty lots. But I just didn't have the level of development needed to create something like this. I just wasn't ready as a human being, because you really can't create anything that you are not yourself. And that's one of the existential struggles with creating a righteous environment is you have to kind of be righteous yourself first. So your words just won't have enough electricity to move people unless you're living them. um, so uh, so I had a lot that I had to learn in Detroit and subsequently in Chicago. And so that's kind of how I got started in terms of actually acquiring the physical land was in 2013. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir. At the instruction of our leader. That's awesome. And I recall when you were in Detroit and that was all you talked about was getting people united and building a community of our own. And it's interesting because you're in Georgia now, but your journey didn't begin in Georgia with this idea. So
Mhm.
can you tell us a little bit about how did you end up in Georgia, as far as realizing that that was the actual place to build your hereafter farms that you're building?
Yeah. So I was in Saudi Arabia, minding my own business. I was on a pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, and I got sick, and I was like, I did the pilgrimage, and then after the pilgrimage, I got sick, and I was like, wait a minute, this can't be right. Like, what am I here for? I didn't come here just to get sick, So I was like, what am I here for? And then something moved me to like go do pilgrimage again, like go back to the Kaaba, go back in to the mounts and walk 7 times. Like it just came like do all this stuff again and go find out why you're here. Like you don't know why you're here yet. So I went, and the second time that I
Mm.
went, while I was there, and this was my second trip there to that land. But on this second trip, I went a second time from the hotel. I wasn't feeling well, and I was like, I just said, there has to be some deeper meaning to all this than just the rituals. The ritual of Hajj is great, but there's got to be a deeper, like, what is it for? What are we purifying ourselves for? What are we preparing ourselves for? There's got to be something that God wants to pour into us. There has to be something that he wants to use us for. It can't just be for my own personal gain. I'm praying 5 times a day. I'm praying 7 times a day. I'm going to my meetings. It's like, is it for me? Or is it so that I can do something for God and for our people? And so I just went with an open mind and open heart, and I went back. And while I was there, this whole thing about separation came to me. And that's where the idea of Project Separation started. And, you know, I don't want to go too far into it because I could literally talk this whole interview about that one experience, right? But long story short, you know, I'm back at my place that I'm staying, and all I'm thinking about is separation, and it's all coming to me like all at once, everything. And it's like, go to Chicago and work on the political aspect, go door to door, create the petition, the website, start talking to people, and then go to Georgia and get land. It was just like that. Like, it was just that simple. There was no like ambiguity around it. There was no like question, like, well, maybe. So that was it. It was go to Chicago and do this, and then go to Georgia and do that. I was like, okay, great. So I moved to Chicago, and I got a condo on the South Side, and I created this Project Separation, and I just started going door to door. I mapped out, you know, I have a background in political organizing, so I'm mapping out the city and the South Side in particular, and learning how to kind of shift our political experience in America from the two-party system to our own political machine. You know, the minister said he wanted a political party or a political machine. So I said, okay, this is tied to separation. He said he wanted a vote. I said, okay, this is tied to separation. So I just kind of created some of the things that we could use to get to the point that the minister wanted us to get to. And so I just started working, and then but that was kind of where the idea of Georgia came from. It was just embedded into the original idea, and I just carried it out. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, so while we're talking about separation, can you elaborate on the concept of separation in a socio-political and spiritual context? How does it relate to the empowerment in the community?
So social, political, and spiritual. Well, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that separation was more important than prayer even, which obviously is a profound statement, because we're praying 5 times a day and then an additional 7 times a day. And, you know, prayer is considered the greatest force. It's considered, you know, the Holy Quran says Allah would not care for you if it weren't for your prayer. So there's all this monumental things about the importance of prayer. But I've heard the minister articulate it in a way where he says, you know, you can't go from one prayer to the next without something in your environment interfering with what you're praying for. And so from a social aspect, it takes a village to raise a child. Our children are being raised not by necessarily only their parents, but by influences, sometimes by outside influences. And in particular, the neighborhood that they live in and the content that they consume when they're in the household. So your children are going to become like their friends. They're going to become like whatever the culture in their schools are, the playground, their friendships in the community. That's who your children are going to become. Well, I can't say that for sure, but that's going to have an influence on who your children become. So from a social standpoint, it's a necessity. From a spiritual standpoint, it's absolutely a necessity, because how can you become the people that God intends for you to become unless you're free to live the life that it takes to become that version of yourself? So a lot of what we're trying to do cannot be done in our current environment. It can't be done. I heard the minister say this, that if you leave people alone long enough, they'll eventually begin practicing righteous conduct. And so that's profound. That's saying that, you know, sometimes we're like, oh, we're behind. We got to catch up. We got to get housing and businesses and factories. And he's saying all we really need to do is just go into a new land and then we'll literally be re-engineered. Naturally, we'll re-engineer ourselves. It's kind of like the earth. The earth is going to naturally replenish itself. That's kind of how we are. Like, you really don't, like, it really doesn't have to be as complicated as people make it. We really just have to create that new environment,
Sir.
create a government to manage it, and that's it. And we have that in the nation, of course.
Sir. Some history that we can learn from, like examples from the past that you have studied and are incorporating in what you're doing right now.
Can you ask that question again? The first part?
I said, what are some contemporary examples from the past of separation that you've studied and you kind of can use as not like your prototype, but just something you can say, aha, it can be done?
Yeah, well, there's two primary examples that I draw from. One is the children of Israel in Egypt. Moses went and that process, as it's written in the Bible, is very similar to what is happening here today in America. Very similar. And so we can pull from that, but even in addition to that, I heard the minister say in 2011 or 12 that that Master Farrakhan Muhammad attached himself on to the Constitution of the United States. And so for me, this was very profound, because he's like, I came to Philadelphia to give this speech. Why did I come to Philadelphia? He said, because this is where separation, in a sense, comes from. Because written into the Constitution is a way for us to legally and practically separate. So he talked about the Constitution, and he talked about the cow. And I'll get into the cow. I'm sure you're going to ask me about the cow. But so the way America was founded, is...
Yeah, we're going to get into the cow.
Yeah. So the second example would be America, the country we live in. This is a fairly new country, and it's got a lot of things that we can study and draw from because of how new it is, and we still have a lot of that history. So those are pretty much like the main two examples. It's ancient Egypt and modern day America.
Okay. I like how you correlated the ancient Egypt and the modern day America, because a lot of times people don't really realize how America came about. I mean, if you had a bandit of former prisoners and criminals and they did all of this, how much could some people who are striving to be upright, what can we do? And
yeah.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. And right now we have Sister Victoria, Sister Angelica. They're both giving the greetings. We have Brother Hashim saying it makes sense to me. We have Brother Tobias saying Assalamu alaikum. And we have Brother Mark saying Assalamu alaikum. Everybody is tuned in and watching the show and enjoying what you have to share, because this is really what nation building is all about, actually doing the work. So thank you for your commitment.
I actually, you're welcome. And
so the other
saw the chat, and I just saw these comments. Like, I'm literally just saw these comments for the first time. Literally. Okay, but go ahead. Yeah, if we ever do a part 3, I'm going to share this on my own. I'm going to share this. I don't know how to do it right now, but
we're going to do a part 3.
Yeah.
We're going to do a part 3.
Yeah.
It's only right.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So, with you using the name hereafter, and this is just a question that just came to my mind, with you using the name hereafter, has anyone ever told you that it just makes them think of a heavenly abode? Like, because that word hereafter is associated with heaven. So when you were naming it hereafter, why did you choose that name, Hereafter Farms? I know we talk about the hereafter, but I want you to elaborate why you use that title.
Um, so the reason we chose these comments are hilarious. So the reason we chose Hereafter was because we wanted to take away, and the Hereafter was chosen when um, we wanted to take away some of the mystery, because I don't want to be critical at all, right? Because it's so not necessary. But a lot of times we don't see ourselves and the present moment in proper context. A lot of us don't value ourselves properly. And so it's difficult for us to believe that we're living in a time where we could do something great and where we should do something great, even though we have the best teachers ever. And they're telling us it's on you. The time is now. Because we have such a messed up view of ourselves, I think that's the root of it, is like insecurity, fear, doubt in self. How can you build something great and you can't build anything outside of yourself that you haven't already found inside of yourself? And so the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the hereafter for my followers is now. He said some of my followers are in the hereafter and don't even know it, because we can't help but to build the hereafter. It's a natural byproduct of self-improvement. It's not even something that you have to set out to do. It's if you work on yourself enough, it's going to eventually come out of you and expand to your friends, your family. It's going to grow and grow and grow and grow, and it's going to manifest. That unseen power is going to manifest itself eventually into the seen reality. And so faith doesn't have to produce works. Faith naturally creates works. It naturally creates works. It's just like I don't have the science of it down yet. I'm still studying. I'm literally just a student. So I don't have like, some genius scientific equation, right? But it's so to take us out of wait until 400 years from now, wait until you die, wait until this, wait until that. Don't wait for anything. Don't wait for any. We'll be waiting forever, like the Sandlot, literally. And so it's just yeah, it is what it is, Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Milk and
so
honey,
let's
like.
get into the cow, because I'm
Okay, let's go.
really interested.
I was going right into it anyway. Go ahead.
Yes, see, we naturally
Okay.
went there, and our sister Angelica saying faith natural produce work. So yes, ma'am. You can see the comments, right, brother?
I can now, like as of like 3 minutes ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get
Yeah.
right into it. So the
All right.
chapter "The Cow" in the Holy Quran contains profound wisdom. Can you share some key lessons from this chapter that are particularly relevant to our current social and spiritual climate?
Yeah. Let me pull it up. Give me a second, because I would love to say I have it memorized, but I don't. Let's see. Like
Yes, sir.
start quoting the whole thing. Um, so I'll start off with this. The first verse. Okay. First of all, why is it called the cow? First of all, why is it called the cow? And why are we not buying cows? All right. Let me, that's where I want to end. So let me start where we at. Because the minister said you can't start where you are. You have to start where the people are and bring them where you want them to be. Right? So look at this. Let's look at the beginning of the chapter 2. This is the book.
Okay.
There is no doubt about it. A guide for those mindful of Allah, who believe in the unseen. Okay, we can stop right there. So there's no doubt in God's word, right? There's no doubt. And so if you're trying to create something that's a manifestation of God's word, all doubt is removed because it's not you. So if you really, if you believe that there's no doubt in what God is telling you to do, because in this book, he's telling you the whole book, what to do, how to do it, what to say, who to say it to, what to say back when they say this, how to handle this, how to handle that. The whole book is a book of law and instruction. The whole book is warning, law, and instruction. And among other things, I'm not a Quranic scholar, but I'm just sharing my perspective, right? So it says that there's no doubt in it. It is a guide for those mindful of Allah, who believe in the unseen, establish prayer, and donate from what we have provided for them, and who believe in what has been revealed to you and what has been revealed before you, and have sure faith in the hereafter. Okay. So it's a guide for those who are mindful of Allah. It tells you that there's certain requirements for what this is, right? If this is a guide for those mindful of Allah, what is mindfulness of Allah? And then it lays out what that is in the next verse. It says, who believe in the unseen, establish prayer, give charity, believe in scripture, and believe in the hereafter. 5 things. So, and then it says, it is they who are truly guided by their Lord, and it is they who will be successful. Man, it's really so simple. It's so simple. And so this right here is pure milk. It's pure milk. Like, why is he calling it the cow? Right? Because it's pure, it's wholesome, it's sustenance. The minister put up the cow at Holy Day of Atonement in Philadelphia. I think it was 2011. It may have been 2012. He puts up a picture of the cow and he goes over what the cow can produce. Man, you could build so much trade and commerce and business from the cow. I've heard it said that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad started out with one cow. One cow. And so I started out with nothing, right? But faith. It says believe in the unseen. The unseen, sis. Not the riches and the gold and you got all this knowledge and wisdom and resources, and that ain't faith. So the cow is literally, I've heard the minister say that this verse is a summary of the whole book. The whole book is found in this one verse, the entire book. So I'm not a Quranic scholar, but I will say that the cow is a very important key to our separation, to us building a new world, because the messenger prescribed 3 things for us as a diet. If there was only 3 things, of course he has more. I'm not a scholar on how to eat to live, so don't chew me up, no pun intended. But it was whole milk, right? Bread, certain kind of wheat bread, and it was the navy. I think it was bean. It was beans, right? The navy bean. It was beans. So 1/3 of that is the cow. Like, that's how important and special the milk is, because I've been studying these cows, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant, I need raw milk. And I'm like, yo, listen, check it out. Look what I found. Different types of genetic breeding have created different types of cows. So we're drinking from cows that are not cows that are found in our natural environment.
Yes.
So these cows are genetically mutated. These are not even original cows at all.
Right.
On top of that, even if they're grass-fed, even if they're free-range and grass-fed, the hay that they're eating is not organic hay. So they're eating hay sprayed with pesticides and GMO stuff and really poison. And so the Amish out of Pennsylvania are really the only people that I can find that are delivering the hay throughout the US that is suitable for the cows. But there's certain kinds of cows that are natural to an environment that we are natural to. And those are the types of cows that we should be drinking milk from. So and you can get them. You can buy them. It's 2024. So if you got enough money,
Sir.
you got enough bread, no pun intended, then you could get them. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. So another thing about the cow, the interesting thing about the cow is that the cow that all this is referring to is the female cow. That's another very interesting point to the cow that we're referring to, because the male cow is what, a bull, and nobody's talking about that guy. Nobody's talking about the male cow, right? I mean, maybe because you got meat and other things, and but we're talking about the female cow, and there's something very, very special about the cow, and it's how it's tied to separation. We can build our whole world off just a few basic things, off wheat, cows, cotton, clay land for bricks, and timberland for wood. The messenger said, buy the land with the clay and make the bricks. Buy the land with the trees and make your wood and build your homes. Grow your cotton to make your clothes. Take care of your cows. That gets you your milk and your meat. And then how much wheat do you need? You know, the famous one-liner, how much wheat do you need to feed such and such? So that's in the thinking, but it's all found in the Holy Quran as well. So when it talks about milk and honey, I'm taking that literally. I'm like, yo, let's get some milk and honey. Like, I want to live in a heavenly like state. My mom raised me in one of the worst neighborhoods you could ever be raised in one of the harshest environments, where all of our problems as a people were on full display. All of our problems as humanity, I was able to witness and experience. Not all, but the full spectrum. Not all. You know, I was never, I personally haven't experienced everything, but I've been exposed to it because of the environment I was raised in. So, but what it did was, she said, okay, here's the problem. Now, what's the solution? You can't get the solution if you don't know the problem. And this is why no matter how much money is thrown at the problem, no matter how much, you can't just throw stuff at the problem. You have to know the problem in order to figure out the solution. And so being raised in an environment, it taught me what our people really need, and they need a new environment. So that's it for now. Go ahead. Next question.
I could listen to you teaching on this forever, because, you struck my interest when you start talking about food being medicinal. And I mean, that's just phenomenal how you're able to tie in the double entendres that's going on within the allegory and the regular aspects of this Quranic scripture. Because yes, we're talking about literal food and spiritual food, because as you put it, we're focusing on the physical cow. the physical cow is needed for that land and for the survival of the people that are going to join the community, because they get milk, butter, meat, right? And then the other items that come from it. So I think that's a beautiful concept. And then I also like to think of the land of milk and honey as literal. Let's drink good milk, like the messenger said, and let's consume honey. And like the bees are being genetically modified right now. So you got to be really careful about the honey that you consume. And
That's right.
I know you're going to go into the products that you're going to be producing on that land. And I can't wait. Maybe we'll do that on the next time you're on the show,
Yeah,
part
sure.
3.
Yeah.
You'll talk about what you're actually producing, because that's phenomenal. Because everything, and the messenger said food, clothing, and shelter. These animals are providing clothing, you're providing food, and you're providing shelter. So the Hereafter Farms is really self-sustainable. If you think about it, it's a community that's going to be self-sustainable. And that's why on the Proverbs 31 Woman show, we keep having you back, because what you're doing needs to be on all kinds of platforms. You need to be on all kinds of shows, because people need to see you as an example, because we've all had these teachings, but some people are just able to bring it out into fruition and make it an example for others to follow, and kind of like a blueprint, because we can't just be hearers of the word, we have to be doers. So I'm so glad that you just expounded on that. So my next question is, how can the teachings in the cow guide us in making decisions that benefit our community and our future generations?
Yeah. Well, when you are applying, you're talking about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
The surah, the cow. How
Gotcha.
can What are some examples from that surah that can help us and also future generations while establishing communities of our own?
Um, so the way that Master Farrakhan Muhammad, he promised certain things to his students, and I would say that, God always keeps his promise. He promises the same thing in the Quran, Holy Quran. He promises the same thing in the Bible. Every prophet spoke of God in the same way. And he always has a warner. He always has a warning and a warner. He always sends a person that the people can understand, so that they can get a fair warning. In that warning also contains a message. Sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's eternal, but even if it's temporary, it has eternal elements embedded into the temporary call to action. And so what our teacher, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, revealed is a very similar thing. He promises us certain things. And so if you are willing to do the things that is being asked of you. So for me, it was a process of joining the nation and falling into the training of the FOI and the teaching of the NOI. And from that process, I was able to become a much better version of myself. And one day, the mosque closed during COVID, and I got sick. But I was also spiritually sick, because you get so much teaching and you start to think that you're better than others. And sometimes religion can do that to you. Sometimes knowledge can do that to you. But that kind of thinking makes it difficult for you to become the man that God wants you to become. It also makes it difficult for you to serve the people that God is asking you to serve and that you want to serve. And so when the mosque closed and COVID came, I was able to see myself. And I wasn't who I thought I was at that whole time. And so it was the teaching and training, but it was also the mercy of God in showing me my true self and giving me a chance to become a better version of my true self. And so I dedicated myself, after I survived that moment, I dedicated myself to doing the will of God. And I turned to him afterwards, and it was Ramadan 3 years ago, April 2021, the night before Ramadan started, and I prayed to God to use my mouth, use my hands, use my feet, and use my mind. And the next morning, it was time. I went on the computer, and I just was moved to start looking for land, and that was it. So I would say submit to God, obey what God is asking you to do. For me, it was the nation. It was coming to the mosque to get it. But it wasn't until I couldn't go to the mosque that I found it, which is ironic, right? And yeah, yep. So that's what I would say is come under the teaching and training, but then also find the God within. Find the God within.
Alhamdulillah. And what you said, there was so many answers to that question, but what you said, given to you building this Hereafter Farms, and I know you have help, but you are the representative of the Hereafter Farm, so I know you never like to leave out those people, because you said on the last show, I have a whole lot of people supporting me and backing me. So I want the audience to know that this brother, this is his second time on the show. So the first time he thanked everybody that's helping him. So if you're just tuning in, just understand this brother is very humble. And even in the answer he just gave, he's saying that if you like what he's doing, just submit to God, because whatever Allah has for you, he will bless you with the same way he is blessing this brother with. And that's like the best answer. And also, can you clarify before we get into the next thing, which is building the hereafter? That's going to be the last key point we talk about. But can you really briefly just clarify for those listening, because they might be hearing God talk to them, but they're ignoring it, because I heard you say God was telling you. Can you explain to them it's not going to be some outside voice that you're going to hear? Because some people might be confused and they're like, well, why isn't God telling me? Why isn't God talking to me? Because, when all of us have these visions that they see us execute, and we all say, God was talking to me. So for you, could you just clarify that so the listening audience could understand how to hear the voice of God within yourself telling you which direction to go?
How to hear the voice of God within yourself telling you which direction to go. It's always there. It's just, we just don't listen to it.
Yeah.
We don't see ourselves as worthy. We don't see ourselves as worthy. We don't see ourselves for who we truly are. We see ourselves so low. That's not who you are. There's a human side to everyone, and there's a divine side to everyone. And sometimes the human characteristics blind you from the divinity of the human being. And so if you can acknowledge and say, yes, I have a human side, I make a bunch of mistakes. I've ill-affected people. The minister said, I killed many giving life or learning how to give life. We are so hard on ourselves. We're so hard on others. If we just listen to the voice within, we just either don't want to listen We either don't want to listen and we're playing, or we have issues that prevent us from believing in ourselves. Right? And that could be self-hatred, it could be fear, it could be doubt, it could be, low self-worth, insecurities, lack of confidence, childhood trauma. So again, the teaching and the training. And then I found the key in myself when I was in the house, off of social media. I was under quarantine. When I found it. So I would say definitely be quiet. I would say be quiet, listen to the voice, and then move out on what it's telling you to do, period. And so the thing about fear is, my teacher broke this down, but I never really understood it until I had to apply it. The thing about fear is that, okay, you could be scared, but if you do the thing you're afraid of doing, you'll find that you had nothing to fear. It's like it's removed from you. It's like it was fake. It's like it was a facade. The whole time you was afraid of something that wasn't even there. We're afraid of stuff that don't even exist. And we're doubting something only because we haven't done it. If you do it, you'd be like, wow, I could have done that 10 years ago. Yeah, so don't waste 10 years. Don't waste another 10 years. Do it today, right now. So I would say just listen to the voice within. Just listen to it. Just listen to it. And listen to others also, because no man can see himself. He needs his brother or sister as a reflection, is what my teacher taught me. And so when people tell you about yourself, no matter how bad it is, some of it is usually true. And so you can take that and you can use that as self-improvement. It's a mirror, it's a mirror. So I would add that into it as well.
Yes, sir. Because the minister did say that, and I'm talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that there is some truth in criticism. So even like you're saying, if someone is criticizing you, hey, I mean, honestly, take what they said, and if it applies even a little bit, you can make a whole better version of yourself based off of that one person's criticism. And it could have been them nitpicking, it could have been them hating, but it doesn't even matter, because you can use it to improve yourself. And that was a comment someone said. Brother Mark said, Student Minister Mark Muhammad says, self-improvement is the basis of community development. As you were speaking, he put that in there, because what you were saying was you are constantly improving yourself.
Yeah.
So I have another question, and then for the listening audience, our brother has another engagement at 7:00. So
I have a land
we're
Zoom.
going to get these couple of last minute questions. A land Zoom. You all hear that? The brother is constantly working in the advancement of land ownership for our people, which is something that should be celebrated and applauded, because if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So we have to celebrate those who are actually doing it and give them their flowers now. You don't wait till people are gone to say that brother or sister was doing it. You have to let them know now while they're amongst us. Support them in any way you can. Share. If you're not going to support, just go to the brother's page, Farrakhan Muhammad. Can you tell them your Instagram and your TikTok?
Yeah. Farrakhan Muhammad Ali. You can just Google that. I'm everywhere now. Somehow. Yeah, Farrakhan Muhammad Ali. You can check me out on all platforms, man. I'm everywhere, man. I'm everywhere. I don't even want to be anywhere. I'm just doing this because nobody else was doing it. I promise you, I'm not even. Look me up, Farrakhan Muhammad Ali. I got a dope name, the best, because I'm just grateful to be used by God. Honestly, He just keeps magnifying my word.
I can bear witness that you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I could bear witness that you don't like social media because I remember almost 10 years ago now, I tried to beg you to get on social media and you said, I'm just not interested in social media. Do you remember that?
Wait, wait. Tell me that again. Tell me that again. Because people not going to believe you. Tell me that again.
I said, okay, so like almost 10 years ago when we had a restaurant and we were part owners together, and I tried to beg you to get on social media, your answer was, no, I just don't want to put my face and myself on social media. I don't want to put business endeavors on social media. And so I see even your see, this is how you know this is a vision that Allah has for you, because you are doing you are operating totally differently. And that's because you're being driven by a higher force. You giving yourself, Paul says it like this in the Bible, I die daily. You've given your personal self over to the mission that was pre predetermined before you even born. Everything that we do that's of any significance has been written before we even are birthed. And we walk into that. So I can see that as someone who's known you for a long time, has been a business partner of yours, has, watched you. You literally are like just someone that's just operating on the frequency of God energy. And that is something that I think everybody listening right now should understand. When you begin to become a whole new person, it doesn't matter who knows you, how long they've known you for. People can see God when they look at you. And I know we're taught that every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God. Every time you look at a black woman, you're looking at God. But yeah, the devil's a God too. So when I say like we're looking at a law in each other, that's because now we're being the good gods, because that's when that light is over someone. You see Allah in them. Master Farrakhan Muhammad came to make us all into themselves. So just to see you stepping out of your comfort zone, you're doing videos and you're doing all of this. I just want, when you come back on the show and we do a part 3, I want to go more into like the ascension of an individual, because we're talking about hereafter farms, we're talking about separation, we're talking about the cow, we're talking about unity, we're talking about all of this, but also there's an individual aspect to it where we're elevating in order to even keep stuff in motion, because devils are going to come trying to destroy. There's so much different aspects that could try to tear down. But when Allah is with us, when Master Farrakhan Muhammad has handpicked us, you can't mess with that. You can't destroy it. So that is what we're going to be discussing on part 3. Thank you so much, brother. Student Minister Farrakhan Muhammad Ali. This is the owner of Hereafter Farms. This brother is out there in Atlanta, Georgia. He's not pretending or masquerading. He's out there really trying to unite our people. He's really trying to allow the essence and the spirit of Master Farrakhan Muhammad to dwell and shine through him for our people, so they can be inspired to know that they were created to live in a heavenly abode. We don't have to be out here struggling when we can unite and build a world for ourselves. So thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Assalamu
Thank
alaikum.
you. Walaikum salam, sister. Thanks for having me. Very honored and humble. Very humble. Very honored to be here, sis. I had a very good time, and I'm very grateful to be on your show.
Do you want to say anything?
Um,
Would you like to say anything?
yeah, I would like to say um, to everyone listening to this, I would like to say that I'm very grateful to Allah for allowing me to help you all. I'm very grateful. I always wanted to help, and I just was looking for a way. I was looking for a way to help, and I found it. And it's not easy. It hasn't been easy, and it's just going to get harder. But I'm not going to give up ever. I would rather die than give up on God and give up on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and give up on my people. So I thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So thank you all for tuning in. We had a great show with our brother Farrakhan Muhammad Ali. That is a student minister, and I can bear witness. And that's what we have to do for each other in this day and time. When you know someone is doing something worth doing, something valuable, just support them however you can. I know pretty much everyone listening to this has a vision for their life, has a plan for their life, has an idea. But if any one of you are watching this show right now and you don't know what it is that you want to do with your life, you don't know which direction you should be going in with your life, it's okay. Don't beat yourself down. Just take some isolated time and spend it with yourself and get to know yourself. And some of you might be doing something and you're not satisfied. It brings you no gratification. And you're wondering what it is that God has for you. And you're wondering why other people are successful in certain areas and you don't know why you're not. That's okay too. Just seek God, pray about it, and get to know yourself and go inside yourself and start to bring out of you what you love to do. Spend time with yourself. Get to know yourself. Love yourself. And then that vision that you're going to create is going to be one that you enjoy, one that you love. You won't be worried about how much money you're going to make from it. You won't worry about who likes it, who doesn't, because if it's truly something that Allah, and if you're a Christian, Jesus, whatever your faith is, you don't have to just be Muslim to take part in the beauty of the visions that Allah gives you, Jesus gives you. I don't know what your faith might be, but when you see other people who are successful in certain areas, who you think are accomplished, who you think are successful, because they might not be successful to themselves, because everybody hasn't got to a point where they're satisfied with looking in the mirror and loving themselves. And that's okay too, because if you just so happen to be one of those people trying to find your way, it's okay. Take it step by step and day by day, but never look down on yourself. Never think less of yourself because you have not found your purpose, or you're just not where you want to be in life. Just be patient with yourself. The Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said during the time in What Must Be Done that we ought to learn Surah 113, which is called the time. And it says, by the time, surely man is at loss, except those who do good and those who guide one another to truth and patience. So if we're going to be in this world together, we have to be patient with ourselves, and we have to be patient with other people. And we have to love ourselves, and we have to love other people. I just wanted to close out the show on those notes. Love yourself, love your neighbor, be good to yourself, be good to your brother and your sister. Treat people how you want to be treated, because everybody has some struggle that they're going through. Everybody is on a path and a journey that is uniquely formulated just for them, meaning that their life situations and circumstances and experiences all are going to come together and make them who they are and prepare them for whatever it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Jesus has for them. So don't judge anybody, because that same person that you're looking down on today could be that person that you're looking up to tomorrow. Literally. It just can reverse. You could be up today, down tomorrow. They could be down today and up tomorrow. So we have to just love on one another, because this world is really hard. So I leave you with those words. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who has tuned in. And you all, we will see you next week. We will have Brother Farrakhan Ali joining us, and the show will be a beautiful show. I'm going to go ahead and post that next to start promoting for next week's show. Peace and blessings. Oh, also, I want to take a time to thank our sponsors, which is Student Minister Brother Mark Muhammad and Brother in Charge Kevin Jamal Muhammad, and they're both of the Springfield Study Group number 71 in Ohio, and they're sponsors for this show. And Student Minister Mark Muhammad is the executive producer for the show. So I want to ask Allah to bless these brothers and the believers all over, and just thank these brothers for all that they do for our city and all that they do for this show. And that's all. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. And assalamu alaikum to Brother Student Minister Jamil Muhammad. Give your wife the greetings for me. Sister Tisha, if you're watching, assalamu alaikum.